Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back. So today I want to talk about an issue that most people are going to have to face at some point in their lives: managing your student debt. Now, this shows up in the media, shows up in people's lives so much because of, I think, two major issues. And the funny thing is that the first one is often mentioned a lot more, people blame that, but the second one is the one that we can actually do something about. So the first one is that college in the US is objectively just really expensive compared to the rest of the world. That means that people who are young, who don't have a lot of money, have to take on these loans very early on in their life, and then they have to pay them off. But we don't have too much control over that. We would all like to assume that there's going to be some benevolent force that's going to eradicate student loans or make college really cheap, but the fact is that that's probably not going to happen as soon as we would think or hope. That brings us to the second reason that student debt is such a big issue in the United States, and that's because of a lack of financial literacy. So what I mean by that, just for example, when I was in high school, I had to take courses in world history, in drawing, in geography, which I never actually ever used again, but nobody ever sat me down in an official setting and talked to me about personal finance. Stuff like, what does it mean to do my taxes? How do I invest my money? And of course, the topic of this video, how do I pay off a loan, specifically a student loan? So in this video, we're going to go through a literal calculation. This is not any kind of top 5 video. This is going to be me walking you guys through an actual calculation. Assuming you have this much debt, it's at this interest rate, you have to pay these monthly expenses, what do you do next? So let's get to it. All right, so let's just get right into this calculation. So let's say that you just graduated from your undergraduate university, congratulations. And this is the situation that you're currently dealing with. So let's say that you currently have $25,000 in student loans. So I got this based on, that's the average amount of debt from the public university that I graduated from. Let's say that the interest rate on this student loan is 6%. So just a quick refresher on interest rates. What this means is that, let's say that you had this much debt and for an entire year you didn't pay a single dollar towards it. Then the amount of money you owe is going to go up by 6%. So not only are you going to have to pay back this $25,000, you're going to have to pay back 6% of that extra. And this is the cost of borrowing money, unfortunately. Now, the small caveat I'd add for student loans is a lot of times there's a 6-month grace period, which means that after you graduate, a 6-month timer starts. And within those first 6 months, no interest is accumulating. But after those 6 months, this 6% interest rate will kick in. And let's say that you have a job lined up where you're making $50,000. So these numbers, of course, are just examples, and I used real numbers to go through a real calculation instead of keeping everything really theoretical. But needless to say, go ahead and plug in your own numbers here. The point of this exercise is not anything specific about the numbers, but really going through the exercise and what does it mean for your future. So let's say you're making $50,000 a year. Let's say that there's a 20% total tax rate, so that the amount of actual money you take home every year is $40,000. And we divide that by 12 to get that every month you're taking home about $3,300. So that's side 1 of the story. This is how much you're making and how much you owe. Side 2 of the story is going to be how much it costs you every month to basically just exist, right? So these are your monthly expenses, and I got these numbers based on my own experiences and where I am geographically in Southern California. But for example, if you live in a more expensive area like the Bay Area, a lot of these would be higher. So go ahead and just plug in your own numbers. But these are the major categories that I came up with for your monthly expenses. So rent, food, leisure being anything from going to a movie to buying toothpaste, really. Emergency, so you can also think of this as savings, but I think of it as this is money I put away in case something were to go terribly wrong and I need to take care of that. Gas, if you're driving. Car insurance. Of course, there could be other categories, but these are most of the ones I was dealing with post-grad. Now, if we add up all of these numbers, we're going to get $2,250. So this is our total amount we need to pay monthly to basically exist. Now, what does that mean? If we take this amount we're bringing home monthly, $3,300, and we subtract the amount that we're paying to exist, which is $2,250, we're going to get $1,080 left. So here's where we can actually start making decisions. So we have this $1,080 in our hands. What do we do next? Actually, can you help me? Me. Yeah, you. What do you want me to do? Oh, just stand there. Okay. All right, so we're going to be looking at 2 situations. Let's say you're person A. You take this $1,080 and you pay $400 of that towards your student loan. I got this $400 based on that being the average amount that an American pays every month towards their student loans. So what do I do with the extra $680? Well, knowing you, you spend it on things you don't need like clothes and shoes. Now let's say you're person B, and you take a very different approach to paying off your student loans. You see that you have this $1080 left at the end of every month, and you go ahead and pay all of it, all $1080, towards your student loan, okay? So of course, the obvious thing that's going to come of this is that person B is going to pay off their loan faster, because they're literally just putting more money towards their student loan every month. But if we actually go through the calculation, taking into account the interest rate, we find that person A is going to take 6 years after graduating to pay off their student loan, whereas person B is going to take just 2 years.
So what, we both paid off?
Well, let me tell you what the big deal is. There's actually 2 big points that we need to think about. First, because of the way interest works, because every month that you're not putting more money towards your student loans, the amount you owe is just going to grow and grow and grow, the interest is going to accumulate. That means that after we've both paid off our loans, you after 6 years and me after 2 years, you will actually have paid $3,300 more money towards your student loan than you had to based on your current financial situation. Oh, and number 2, this is maybe a little bit more subtle, but the amount of current debt that you have is going to affect the future interest rate you can get on other loans. For example, let's say that you're 3 years after graduation. So at this point, I paid off my loans and you have not. And let's say that you're trying to buy a new car. And of course, you might need to take out a loan for that car as well. Now, whoever is giving you the loan for that car might look into your current debt history and say that, oh, you currently have a lot of student debt, whereas I have no student debt. So the interest rate I get on this new loan is likely to be much lower than the interest rate you get on your new loan. So not only are you paying more towards your current loan, by keeping debt around longer than you really need to, you're putting yourself in a terrible position where you're accepting a higher interest rate on future loans, which is just going to increase the amount of money you owe total. So that's why, in my opinion, it is really advantageous to pay off your loan as fast as you can if you are financially able to.
Can I go?
Yeah, you can go. So that's it, guys. I think the main takeaway from this video is not anything about the actual numbers. I just put numbers up there so everything was a little bit more concrete, a little bit more real, but obviously you're gonna plug in all of your own numbers based on your own situation, and you'll come up with your own repayment schedule. I think the main takeaway from this video is really the financial attitude you take after you graduate, because it ends up being a really crucial time, and people don't talk about that too much, where, of course, the time after you graduate is supposed to be amazing. You have a lot of exploring to do. But at the same time, I'm a big believer in sacrificing a little bit now, here and there, wherever I can, in order to secure my financial future. And hopefully I've convinced you a little bit of that mentality in this video. So if you have any questions at all, no questions are dumb questions. This is not trivial stuff. Like I said, no one teaches us this, so we shouldn't feel bad asking questions about it. So any questions in the comments are welcome. And please like and subscribe for more videos just like this. Any ideas for future videos are welcome as well. And I'll see y'all next time.